Hey, Texas Values friends. Jonathan Sines here, president of Texas Values, continuing our podcast series here at SoConCon, Social Conservative Conference. It's in Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't think I've been to this state before. I think I cruised by once on a guy's road trip, but that's a story for another day. But I'm here with my good friend Terry Schilling of American Principles Project. He is the president of that national organization, and you might have seen him a few more times in Texas over the past couple of years. We're going to talk about that and talk about why. We're going to talk about some Texas special session, a lot of good stuff. But Terry, I think you've been on the podcast by Zoom, but I don't think we've done it live. So welcome live to the Texas Values Report.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, Jonathan. I'm a huge fan of you. I'm a bigger fan of Texas, but Texas is one of the most important states in the union, not just in terms of like economic output, but it's the reddest state we have in the country. Yeah. And it really should be one of our conservative laboratories where we're pushing as many laws and policies to protect the American family, get new enterprise going. And so I've always loved Texas. I've got, two of my uncles live in Texas. Yeah. One was a football coach. Wow. I don't know if he was that good of a football. I mean, I'm kidding. He's great. He's
if
fantastic.
He could coach anywhere in Texas, he was probably good. But hey, that's just me.
That's right.
Well, listen, it's good to have you on. I know you've spent a little bit more time in Texas recently, the past couple of years, but probably some people out there that may have heard your group or don't know quite as much about it. Tell us a little bit about American Principles Project.
It's very simple. So in every state capital, and including the nation's capital, there are all these special interest groups that represent their industries. Big pharma, big oil, big tobacco. We consider ourselves to be big family. So what does that mean? Well, that means that when politicians, mostly Democrats, but sometimes Republicans, when they're attacking parental rights or when they're attacking children and their innocence or ruining our schools, right, making it so that only a third of our kids are literate, essentially, we want to come after them and make them pay a political price for it. So we invest millions of dollars into campaigns and elections, primarily at the national level, but more and more at the state level to generate momentum. And then once we win, once we show that we're a political fighting force, then we go in and leverage those investments and try to get real laws passed that can help save the American family.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I always love the air cover. I mean, sometimes you guys are there in person, but we look at the way social media works now, the perception of that or how that can work when you see a lot of people that are engaging and supporting issues. And you could be anywhere, right? I mean, you guys have a huge following. It's important to be there on the ground. But you can also have that support come from different places. And the social media, listen, I mean, I don't know if it's something to brag about or whatever, but I'm telling you, in the Texas House and Senate, so often they're sitting in their chair at their desk on social media. So when you and other groups are you're communicating with them. You're getting to them that way, and it's had a big impact. Let's talk a little bit about your background, though. You're not new to this game. You had different roles before. I don't think you were the head guy or whatever, or getting as much visibility. But before that, you served different members of Congress. You worked with Sam Brownback. Your father was a member of Congress. I'm sure a lot of that experience on that side of things has helped you a lot.
Oh, man, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about politicians and what they care about, what drives them, what bothers them, what gets under their skin. I learned how actually everyday Americans can have a real impact in politics. My dad had no college degree, really no formal education outside of high school. He was just a pizza guy, and he had 10 kids, right? But he was sick and tired of the direction that the country was heading. And in 2009, he decided to run for Congress. And I saw firsthand that, if you catch a little bit of luck and you really put your shoulder to the wheel and work your tail off, you can actually win elections and you can get good policies done. My dad was in a Democrat district. It was Democrat for 28 years before he got elected. But he was still able to get incredible pieces of legislation included into bills. There was a law that was passed shortly after he was ousted in 2012 where he really cared about our veterans, right? And so he kept pushing this rider that would allow for veterans to go to any hospital in the country and not have to go to these VA clinics. That ended up becoming law, right? Wow. And that was his idea that he was pushing. So my experience in politics is that anyone can do it if you're willing to work hard, pray hard, and really fight for the people you're representing.
Well, the persistence matters a lot, right? Being consistent, being there. And I don't say like nagging people. Someone suggested I was stalking a member of the legislature one time. I'm just making sure they know I'm there. There was a bench outside of this legislator's office, so I was determined I'm going to sit here until that member of the Senate comes out of her office. And so, because they were trying to avoid me. Nonetheless, but campaigns have gotten really expensive these days, many of them, the congressional level, U.S. Senate. So I bet it can be discouraging for people to feel like you got to be in some kind of income bracket or know the right people. But I do find that if the right candidate comes along and sort of gets some momentum, for him or herself in the beginning, a lot of people will come alongside with some of that funding.
Well, that, and also, I think President Trump, especially in his 2016 campaign, proved that you really don't need a ton of cash. He got outspent, I think, almost 3-1 in that 2016 race. You just need to be able to cause the right controversy, right? Good trouble, right? Good trouble is good, because there's a lot of bad things that are happening to our people, to the people we know and love, by our elected officials, and everyone's afraid to talk about it. You know me for a while now. You know I'm not afraid of controversy.
That's right.
And I
afraid, you thrive on it.
I love it because, look, I am being controversial. I don't think I'm controversial. I think I'm very normal, but I just want boys out of our daughters' sports. I want men out of our locker rooms and shower rooms. I want little kids to be protected from a gender industry that'll sterilize and mutilate them. And if that's a faux pas with the elites in this country, screw them. We're going to win, and we're going to protect these kids.
And, and some of it is, I think, that someone is so confident like you are when you speak. Someone is so using the different media platforms, but technology, whatever it is, to get in front of more people, right? And so I think you've had success with that, and you're succinct in your messaging, and you live it out in your own family life. So I think putting all those things together and having some really, some meaningful connections, whether it's Newsmax or Fox News or whatever, being able to be in those positions where you're getting more visibility, but then when you are, you don't miss your opportunity.
No, that's right. And the reality is that everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has a camera on that smartphone. Everyone can make videos. AI coming out now has probably greatly reduced the cost to produce videos to get your message across. So there's really no excuse. And it's 3.5 cents to send out a text message to a single voter.
Oh, yeah.
We just need to get smarter. We need to get better messaging. And I don't just mean that, we need better policies that we're pushing, right? And policies that are actually addressing the needs and the problems that Americans every day and Texans every day are going through. And I think if we can get the right policies mixed with some good entrepreneurship at the campaign level, I think more people can win elections on dime budgets.
We'll bring you into that equation when we need to. So you talked about Trump. I want to talk about the big, beautiful bill. I do want our viewers and listeners to know I want to hit on the Texas special session. But I know you do a lot of work at the national level and supportive of the Trump administration and so on. Let's talk a little bit about the big, beautiful bill. There's a defunding of Planned Parenthood, maybe not as far as we wanted to go, but I think an important step.
No, that's exactly right. It's a full year of defunding Planned Parenthood, so the math there is around $780 million.
That's a lot of money
that they're not just going to get for free, right? To prevent more babies and kill more babies and sterilize our children through these. A lot of people don't realize that Planned Parenthood, in order to make more money, they expanded into doing gender transitions for minors against their parents' wishes. So even a year, that is now the Overton window. So now, if Republicans want to put that back in there next year, they got to put it back in.
Exactly.
And so we have changed the whole conversation. We've changed the game. I think we need to keep it going. But there's other great things in there. We extended and made permanent the Trump tax cuts, right? And those went largely to families. They expanded the child tax credit by $200 per child a year. That's fantastic. I think it should be much more, but I also have 7 children. But kids are expensive, right? But this bill is so important, and there are many other things that help make a lot of President Trump's executive orders permanent. And I think it's really important that we keep making progress and we don't stall. He needed to get that bill by July 4th. We can't have any failure because the Democrats will seize on that.
Yeah, no doubt. And, look, you talk about being able to get your message out and all there. Trump's probably one of the best ever. And even if he was outspent, he's got something different or special or whatever that allows him to have those dollars go further. And so, a lot to learn there. But, some people have had their criticisms or whatever. But, he's getting the job done, and it's impacting states. And this is what people voted for.
It's exactly what people voted for. He hasn't done a single thing yet that people have not voted for. They want him to keep his eye on the ball when it comes to protecting our families, making it easier to afford a family. That's what these Trump tax cuts are really all about, is giving economic relief to working families. But yeah, look, I said this we just got off the stage over here talking about, the title of the panel was Still Not Sick of Winning.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you tired of winning yet?
No, but I am getting a little bit discombobulated with the victories and how many we're getting every day, right? And that's what I said.
Which one do I focus on today?
It is like every single day we're waking up to a
the
new
Supreme
story. We had
state legislatures. Yeah,
I don't know the last victory that the family has had at the Supreme Court, but this term, we went 3-0. We're protecting kids from sex change procedures. We're protecting kids from these books that are in schools and protecting parental rights. And we're protecting children online from pornography. Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton.
Which was a Texas case, and you and I spent a little time on that when you were trying to figure out ways, a simple phone call. I didn't really do much, but I was glad that you reached out to me, and I was able to give some guidance, and then all of a sudden the case is out of the Supreme Court. It's a big deal, and that's a huge victory, right?
It's a huge victory because first of all, these rulings overturned bad precedent, especially the Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton. The Supreme Court created this mess. Congress actually in 1997 passed the Online Communications Decency Act, and that made age verification and protections for children online. They struck it down. They said that it was too harsh on porn users, and that porn users' rights to consume porn was supreme to children's right to be free from it. It's totally crazy. So we're going the idea that we want a Supreme Court case restricting pornography is such a big victory. I don't think it's appreciated enough. Yeah,
and there'll be a lot to come from that. You'll sort of see it reverberate, and I think a lot of other states, that can pass a similar state law, seeing that the Supreme Court has said it's okay, if you will. And a lot of that is the shift of the Supreme Court, the deference to the states, allowing the states to figure out what they want to do and respecting that, and essentially saying, we don't want to be the last call on this. If that's what y'all think you want to do, then, so be it. But yeah, that's a good point. In the process of that, similar to Dobbs v. Jackson, the abortion case, the pro-life case that overturned Roe versus Wade, overturning precedent at the same time that shouldn't have been there to begin with. Let's shift a little bit to Texas. We're in the middle of our special session, and we started on Monday. There's the governor, the way it works in Texas, our governor, Greg Abbott, he has sole discretion to call a special session. It's 30 days or less, but they usually just call it for 30 days. And he decides what's on the list of bills to pass. They call it the call. He's called for these bills to be passed. Now, legislators can file whatever they want, but they're probably not going to move. They'll call a point of order that's not germane, whatever. So it's going to be on certain issues. Two of those issues are key issues for us. One is the Texas Women's Privacy Act. The other is a bill that tries to crack down on the chemical abortion pill. And this has got to be a signal to people that this problem is out of control. It's not just across the state, in public spaces, whatever. In the state capitol, the other side is bragging, oh, we have men going into the women's bathroom every day. We had a committee hearing, Terry, and a youngest member of our team, I think she's 22, graduated from college last year, testifies on one of these bills on this topic, and then goes to the bathroom, and there's a guy in there in the women's bathroom. And it's out of control. And so I know it's an issue you cared about a lot, but we got a second bite at the apple. We had all the votes, but, we had a committee member, Ken King, a Republican, who killed it. But now we got the governor, and he was with us before, but he's even more visible now. I think it's going to help.
Well, look, it's really important to have the executive branch behind whatever policy you're pushing. Yeah. President Trump's shown how overpowered the executive branch is, and that goes for Texas and every other state. I can't tell you enough how important these privacy bills are for women, right? This was a accomplishment of the first wave feminists, like the original ones that were good, that didn't really want to kill more babies. They just want to be able to vote and enter the workforce. These bills are so important because women having their own private spaces and feeling safe in public was critical to them being able to have jobs and go to school. They need this, and it's a big accomplishment. But Republicans can be the civil rights heroes. We just need to expose our opponents. I will say something on the abortion pill stuff. A lot of people don't realize this, but abortions are actually up 10% annually across the country since Dobbs. That's crazy. That's crazy. But what's happened is these blue states codified Roe, and they extended abortion up until the moment of birth, but also they passed what's known as shield laws. that allow for abortion pill manufacturers and doctors to recruit women from other states, bring them into the state, but also to mail these abortion pills across state lines. So it's super important that if we want to keep this going, if we want to actually save the unborn, we've got to start cracking down on these really terrible actors who are just hell-bent on killing as many babies as possible.
Well, I talked to Tony Perkins earlier. I interviewed him. He says the president's aware of this. Not that it's on the president's shoulder, this chemical abortion pill, but I think that might be the next frontier at the president's administration to say, hey, we need you to lean in on this issue too, because it happens in states, but those pills are crossing state lines. We're going to do our part in Texas though, but with 30 days is not a lot of time. But you work for elected officials. It oftentimes doesn't take a lot of phone calls to get some people's attention.
No, a few dozen phone calls. And that was what I was talking about when I was talking about my dad and working for Brownback. I know what drives these guys nuts. And the phone calls in their offices, the protests outside their offices, the letters. When you can really just do a few dozen calls into a key legislative office, they get the message loud and clear. Because think about it. They know for a fact that all of us are working hard. We got jobs. We got families. We got basketball leagues and football leagues and baseball leagues to go to with our kids. We do not want to have to call our member of Congress or our state legislator. So if you drive people enough, even if it's a few dozen people, enough crazy that they're willing to call their elected official and make their voices heard, they know something big's afoot, especially if they're not hearing it from the other side. And I just think we need to put as much pressure on these guys as possible to do the right thing. They won't just do it for the goodness of their own soul. They're going to need to be led to the trough on this stuff and come to heel sometimes.
Well, and sometimes it gives that elected official an opportunity to say, this is what my constituents wanted. I was getting all these calls, so I'm going to go ahead and vote for this. I mean, and my belief is whatever reason you need, just vote the right way. So we're hoping to get some movement. I tell you, one of the funnest experiences I had at the Texas Capitol was being in a member's office. And we had sent an action alert out that morning on a particular issue, and their phone was ringing off the hook. And I walked in, and the phone was ringing, and they're like, "Can you tell people to stop calling?" I was like, "Nope,
not until you vote the right way."
Right.
That's how it works.
It's real easy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap up here though on Texas. Your group's been spending a lot more time investing in different things, and I want to learn about some of those. You guys have been doing a great job on some of y'all's digital work and others and ads. But in person, coming to Texas a little bit more. I'm happy to hear about your love of barbecue, and we could talk that for a while. Anything else? What else, are you seeing that you're like, you know what, I want to spend some time in Texas?
Well, I'm everyone here is, at least nationally, the friends I have that are in D.C., they're out all of a sudden very worried about this James Tallarico.
God,
I think the kid's
nightmare.
a nerd. I think he's a total nerd.
Yeah.
I think he's a snake. I think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I saw him on the Joe Rogan show.
And Joe Rogan records in Austin. He has a house in Austin, so that's part of it. But
he was trying to use scripture to justify abortion.
Yeah, I don't know how he got on Rogan's show, because he's not a big name in Texas, even though I know he's kind of weird and nutty. But yeah, he brought up the abortion issue. Right, sorry.
But 2,000 years of Christian teaching, abortion's never been permissible until
Oh my God.
James Tallarico, Pastor James Tallarico, comes along and gives us a new revelation that actually your right to an abortion is actually critical to God's love for us.
I think he said it that way too.
It was so
trying
evil.
To be all passionate. Oh yeah.
This guy needs to go. If I was the Texas GOP, I would be spending millions of dollars just to make an example of him. I don't know what his district looks like, but
yeah.
I could see him running against Cruz or whoever wins this primary with Cornyn. The guy needs to get taken care of. And, God will take care of these guys at the end, and they will have electoral consequences eventually. They will get embarrassed because he is lying. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's just we got to know our Bibles better than he does.
That's what I was about to say. You know how it goes sometimes. Somebody says enough, people start to go, okay, maybe it's true. And you're like, good grief. His district is just a little bit northeast of Austin. It includes part of Austin, but it's a district that, I mean, I want to say it's 50-50, but it's getting close to some suburb areas. And actually, I think what happened when they did redistricting, they shifted the lines to where that district actually became more Democrat-friendly, so the district above it could be stronger Republican, which I get it, but it was irritating because we're like, now it's going to be easier for this guy to stick around.
Here's what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Texas can do mid-cycle redistricting, and they should. Democrats do this to us in every blue state.
And they don't have to explain it.
Why do we let them have any power? They would never let us have any power. They redistrict us out of power. Why shouldn't we be doing this? Out of 51 congressional seats in California, 43 of those are Democrat, right? In Illinois, 14 of the 17 members of Congress are Democrat. We need to do the same thing to them. There's no reason for us to make their lives any easier, because they make our lives hell every single day in politics and in our real world lives with the horrible laws that they pass to destroy our kids, their innocence, and parental rights. It's terrible. And they raise our taxes. Screw these guys.
No, look, I mean, and why get involved in the election process if you're then going to go to the state legislature and give power over to them? You're right. I mean, it makes no sense to me. And it's been concerning for a while. Okay, we're going to finish up on barbecue. Tell me your favorite barbecue so you can show your local street cred.
Well, I just want to say, Terry Black's Barbecue, I've been there with several members of your house and their staffers. I love Terry Black's. It's very good. But I feel I had this, by the way, I had this like 10 years ago. So I think it's become more touristy now, and it's become more of the word's gotten out. The secret's gotten out anyway. But that's my favorite barbecue. Anytime I'm in Austin, that's where I go.
Well, they had this battle with the city of Austin because they put in a location just south of downtown, but there was too much smoke, from all the barbecue. And I'm like, what?
Delicious barbecue smoke.
Give me a break. But, Austin, there are some old school people that are like, yeah, I'm liberal, but come on, you're going to pick on barbecue?
Right.
Give me a break. So they finally broke through. Speaking of barbecue, though, as we conclude, has Kevin Roberts smoked a brisket for you yet?
No.
You need
I'm really
to tell
mad at him right now. Now that I didn't realize that he did that.
No, he is
and he's good at it. But he's a good friend of mine. I was just on a week-long retreat with him in Wyoming. He's never even brought it up to me, which is very offensive. I'm going to have some strong words with him.
So listen, hey, when you come to Texas, I may take you. There's a place that actually it's gotten a little bit more popular too, called Salt Lick. You heard of this place?
Yes.
So it's a little bit out of Austin. It's a little bit of a drive. There's one in the suburb called Round Rock, but that's not the original one. But it's like this is an all-day thing. You go out there, you can bring your own beverages, and they've got the meat is all in front of you. It's crazy, and I think you pay one fee, and it's like as much as you can eat. But it's a pretty cool hangout.
I might be getting this wrong, Jonathan, but a few years ago when I was in Texas on some legislative briefings, I met with one of my favorite activists in the country, Debbie Simmons, and I'm pretty sure she brought us barbecue from Salt Lake, and it was just unreal, a huge spread. It was It was a great welcome to Texas.
Yeah,
and I love Debbie.
It's a great destination too to get out there. Okay, we'll try to get you out there, but in the meantime, important work to do at the Texas legislature. In the middle of a special session, you heard what Terry said. It doesn't take a lot of calls to get some attention, to get some momentum, some movement, and to remind them that we're serious. These issues are life and death, right? The women's safety, same thing. It can be to that level, but hey, great work that you're doing, thank you, Terry Schilling, for being our guest on this special segment of the Texas Values Report, and that wraps.